Kate, I can't sleep. So now I'm gonna get worn down. Yeah, I'm tired, but I'm too worried. I'm too paranoid and stressed out and struggling with my eye. I actually managed to get this video that I had on this camcorder, the clips that I did just recently after my live stream, just to touch base on a few other things. I did get it converted over, but you know, it's like a nervous twitch, right? In terms of I should be resting, not trying to see things on a computer that I can't see very well. And right now I'm getting a lot of glare, so it's that snow globe thing again, right? But I'm like, I should be resting, but all I can think about is I don't want those guys touching my stuff. I don't. I think that's wrong. They told me that Mrs. Gill said that they were going to fix the stairs. I was so happy. And they told me that they were going to fix the light. I wonder if that will happen. I really do, now that I'm sitting here starting to vibrate, thinking about just this whole situation, right? One of those dudes, they asked me if my son was living here, if he was coming back. And I said, no, not at this point. Just too many things I have to do right now, right? But I've already talked to Marcane about, I don't know, having a room. Whether it's upstairs, downstairs, I don't know yet. Right? As backup. Right? Depending on what happens with me and my eyes and stuff. Or just whatever. He never wanted to move out. I mean, sure, they talked about it, and we fought about it every now and then, but it wasn't anything that they were wanting to do at that moment. They were forced out, and now that they're out, right, you know, basically been abandoned, and we've got the predators in the neighborhood circling me, ready to pick me apart. Right? So if my son comes back, it would be to try and prevent that from happening. Regardless of where it comes from. You know? We were thinking of having a room upstairs, and me start working my way maybe downstairs with Amari. This is just a test run to see how it works, right? But this is an old house. It has a lot of wolf spiders. So, you know, right? And I still have to get rid of the mice. So, ain't nobody living downstairs with mice. And if you are, your quality of living is gonna suck. So, you know, gotta focus on that first. And then, I don't know. Why you wanna know? What is it your business? Did he mention it, that he was gonna stay? Yeah, because we talked about it. Right? He said, yeah, I would. I'd come back. But right now, that's not the priority. It's the mice. And I guess finish up whatever it is that they're doing. Whether they do the back stairs or not. Whether they change the light fixture or not. We'll find out soon enough. If they don't do it, well then, I guess I'll complain about it on YouTube. And when something bad happens, nobody can't say that I didn't say anything about it. Right? If something bad should happen. I'll be in the backyard, something will happen, Amari will be on the inside. By the time I run around the whole house and get into where he is, it might be too late. What do you think? Whose fault will that be? Mine? for working in a yard that I'm expected to work in, because if I don't, they use it against me. And even when I am working in it and I have videos to prove that I'm working in it, they still use it against me. So they can build their case like this is like a broken freaking record already. A broken record. What do they want me to do? Go get boxes and just start packing it up and make it easy for them so that when they throw me out, they can just simply pick up the box and take it out to the bin? Is that what they want from me? And then come back and try and charge me for the bin? After they robbed $300,000 worth of garbage? When you tally it all up, penny by penny, nickel by nickel, dime by dime, dollar by dollar. 63 years is a long time to be on this planet. I might not own houses, but I own a beautiful farm table that came from the actual farms that's well over 100 years, which makes it an antique. I own a Punjabi dress from 1982 that if you Googled the brand and you Googled the dress, that you can sell it for over $1,000. I'm just saying. That's garbage. Because I own it. But as soon as it transfers hands to somebody else that maybe is Punjabi, then they'll try and sell it for $2,000 because it's vintage. And because it's mint condition, if they look after it for another, 82, 92, 2002, 12, we're at 2022. So yeah, we're at 40 years already. In a bit. That's pretty good. And it's in mint condition. I could probably get more for the $1,000 if I held out and just waited for the right person to come along. But I'm not even allowed to have that right. I've been stripped of my rights. And I should be sleeping and saving my energy to do something that honestly I don't want to do. And I'm not really capable of doing it. But I don't want them touching my shit. I don't think it's professional. I don't think it's fair. I think they're just rubbing salt in the wound. Right? These guys come and go and do as they please when they want. They don't have fixed schedules. They never have. One little dinky room isn't gonna break the bank. Whatever. I don't have a choice. Because then I'll be accused of preventing them from cleaning up sewage water off of floors. Assuming that even any went into that bedroom. That's not the problem in there. It's the mildew. That's the problem. And that's been there for 15 years. They said I could bring in that old carpet that they cut and lay that down and put what I want on it temporarily. But I don't want to do that. No, because that carpet is mildewy. If it was summertime and I could spray it down and let the sun beat hard on it and, bleach it with the sun, kill off the mildew and all that way, then yeah, I'd do it. But no, I'm not bringing that carpet back in for those I don't want to. I don't want to. It's been 15 years and that thing was old and ratty-tad when I moved in with the floorboards cracking and everything. I'm surprised they held up all those years. But they did. So, anyway, I'm just saying I can't sleep. I'm like a nervous bird. Yeah. Trapped in a cage. I can't make this any better faster. So I can play catch up with anything. I can't do that right now. If anything, it's going to get worse. Yeah. At the rate that I'm going right now. Or my life is being put on hold. Because that's a big one. Right? What's going to happen when I leave? What do you think I'm going to come into contact with? In terms of a landlord. With or without my son. Because they may move back into the house yet. We'll start with my son first. Right? He just doesn't want to be dealing with mice and all this crap right now. And I just need my little space to sort out my life and get on with what I need to do. Right? He might take the upstairs and I might take the downstairs. They won't want that. Nope. So they're going to fight tooth and nail to prevent that from happening, because they want 2 separate suites in a single family occupancy home, single dwelling family occupancy home. They want 2 separate suites, or at least one large family like I had, right? So that they can say that they're renting it to a family. But once the family dies off, or disappears, or becomes injured, and can't keep with the rent, and other things that are expected of them, then they get replaced. They've owned this house since 1992. Their mortgage when they bought it was $175,000. I've already paid that. After everything's all said and done. Not including my labor. And anything else I invested while living here. When it came to yard. Paying men to do things. Buying material. Buying wood. Buying nails. Buying tools. Doesn't matter. Whatever it is, it is. I so don't want them touching my stuff. I don't. I haven't been in that room for months and months and months and months. And now I'm going to have basically strange men who smile up on my face, act like they're copacetic, and they maybe like me, but at the end of the day, actions speak louder than words, right? And they can get pretty rude to me sometimes, for whatever reason. Not all of them, because, you know, there's more than one. So, I want to go to sleep, but I can't. God forbid if I start having a nightmare trashing around, and yeah, maybe that's why I don't want to go to sleep. I don't want voice to skull with another nightmare through those, you know, MK Ultra energy weapons that so-and-so like to use against the general population as another means to, I guess, terrorize them. Okay, don't know if this camera's going to work or what. We know how it rolls with this camera right now. So in the meantime, it's January 22nd of 2026. Probably about 4:30 in the morning. My eye is swollen I can feel it, like the eyeball. It's the actual eyeball underneath inside. I can't really see, right? It's all blurry. It's worse than a snow globe. Yeah, I don't know. Here, it's not swollen, right? And the eyeball is further back into the socket. Where here, I can feel it. The eyeball is out of the socket, or at least swollen. I don't know if you can see that. Let's see if I can look in there. I can't, no. I'll just look straight ahead, okay? Right? And then, I don't know. Anyway, no, I'm feeling not great. Way too much stress. Yeah, and Andre's feeling it. Picking on me all the time with his moody ways. Snotty little self when he wants to get snotty. But I told him, keep it up, buddy boy, and I'll take away the modem. I don't have to take anything away from the computer. I just have to walk away with the modem. Yeah, and it's like one bar on the TV where the TV always kicks out. Because for somehow, some way, that TV is connected to the modem, even though it's got its own cable thing. Don't ask me how that works. Anyway, right, and just take it away for a week or two. Last time I took it away, I gave it back, always as usual, too soon. But he asked me, you gonna take away the modem tonight when I go to sleep? Because, he was bugging, right? In terms of just being that rude boy for a moment. He's all stressed out, worrying about an eviction notice. Yeah. And I just told him, don't worry about it right now at this point in terms of outside, be prepared. Nothing I can do to stop it if it happens. Or, right? Because that's... possible. Right? Or if not that, then don't get too comfortable, because you don't know when it's going to come around the corner again and slap you in the face. When it comes to, you don't pay enough rent. You. Yeah. So with that you stuff, I'm like, this shit's kind of making me a little shaky, right? Because I've been doing things, right? And then I slept. A little bit today I slept, right? I'm trying to let my body heal. Ate a bunch of chicken, some potatoes and cottage cheese. And I slept. But I don't know, I must have hurt myself or something when I was sleeping. In terms of something in here, right? Because it's, it hurts inside, right? It almost feels like when I came out of the hospital, except for when I couldn't open my eye. But Andre said the redness inside of it is going away. Obviously, I can't see nothing, right? So I don't know if it's red or not. He said the redness is going out of my eye. Yeah, I'll try and look right into the lens. But I know for sure that it's swollen, and wherever that tube is, it's up in there somewhere, way in the back, up by the ear. That's how deep he had to go. Like, what the hell? If that's not Frankenstein surgery, I don't know what is. Anyway, we'll see how long it lasts for. Okay, so what I wanted to do is talk about these chickpeas that clearly were vacuum sealed at one point. And there was more than one package, because I've got some here that the air is, because what happened was, okay, I got my timeline wrong. In January of 2026, okay, that's when that crap happened outside. With everything, get rid of everything, right? And those bins came. And then because they were saying get rid of everything in the garage, and my son had some of his tools and whatever, he went into the shed, and I don't know how much he threw out, but he threw out a whole lot of shit. All that nonprofit stuff got raided in those bins, because those bins sat out there for what, 6 weeks? 4 weeks, 6 weeks, because of snow and rain and whatever, and get rid of everything. Okay. So what happened was, I think mice were there. Okay, because I'm trying to really pinpoint when the mice showed up. Now I know my son was complaining about some kind of rodent running through the walls. I guess that must have been in 2024. Okay? But of course, I'm not hearing nothing upstairs. I'm not seeing anything. I'm not coming into contact with anything. Nothing's running around in my roof, so it's not like I didn't believe him. I just said, well, I don't know. Because he wanted me to start pay, and I'm like, well, at least, at least, at one point I was willing to give him $1,000 to buy all the necessary equipment. Even the one, like the smoke machine and vac shop, I think they're called. Something similar like that. And yada yada yada. To really narrow it down as to where they're living in the walls and all this other crap. And, anyway, when he cleared out underneath the steps, because of that get rid of everything in January, he put whatever was underneath the steps, which came from underneath my cubby because they wanted more space and they cleared out my cubby. Well, Marina did. Right, and then just threw everything out of the cubby. And then that's when they put everything underneath the steps. But as they were moving things to the shed, which was, no, I already had stuff underneath the steps. They emptied out the shed because the landlord said get rid of everything. They wanted the garage, whatever, so everything, not everything went, but that's what was requested. So anyway, with that, my son got rid of a whole lot and then opened up the shed, took out what was in the shed, which was all that nonprofit stuff and yada 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 yada. That went into the bin, and then what was underneath the steps at that time, 2025, I think they did say there was mouse droppings on it. I think they did say that. I think. I'd have to go into my videos, really. And then they put it in there. And it's been in there ever since. Okay. And then it sat empty for a little while. Eventually, that company with, to remove rodents, and they were professional and blah, because my son was asking me to hire somebody, so, I told him, like, just look around, but you want somebody that's going to plug out the walls. You don't want some guy coming to the house just setting freaking bait boxes on the outside and giving you a few traps for the inside with some freaking poison and then charge you $400 or $500 for that. No. You want somebody to come and start plugging up the outside, as well as, if you can, deal with the roof in terms of gutters and whatever. And so anyway, he couldn't find anybody. I guess he got some quotes. He managed to buy traps. He was setting traps, mouse traps, rat traps. He even put some, like when the workers came, right, and they went into his room, there was a piece of drywall cut out from the ceiling, right? And they said, well, what's this? And I'm like, well, he was trying to catch rats, so I think he was putting up rat traps up in there because he was hearing them. I wasn't hearing them. And he was trying to catch them that way, but nothing, never caught anything. And then eventually that company came, told me that they can do the outside, but said they could only do half the house, the lower half, that they don't do gutters and all this other crap and on top of the roof, whatever. They just do half of the house. And then, they run these bait traps all around, inside, outside, right, with the, where they crawl in, and they have a special kind of bait that's supposed to be, powerful and magical, and and the solution to getting rid of rodents. They promised us that they'd get rid of it, so we signed the contract where it's a year. At about, it comes out to about $1,000 for the year. It's spaced out. You get billed every 3 months or something, right? And they come in and they change the bait. Anyway, it wasn't working. The bait wasn't working. As fast as they were eating the bait, the mice were still multiplying by that time. And that was like, well, the weather was warm. The weather was warm because I went out into the back. And, so, and upstairs, when they came to check the bait downstairs, I guess there is being eaten all the time, but upstairs, finally they came up and, they checked whatever bait boxes I could give them, because I only have like 4 or 5, and I think I gave them 3 because that was the easiest to get to, and not one had been infiltrated by a mouse. The bait was still there. Okay. Alright, why am I talking about mice? Oh yeah. So, then Marina decided she wanted the living room. More space. So, she started dismantling that 14-year-old food storage so she could set herself up the sewing room. Obviously, Marcane helped her. And because what was underneath the steps is now in the shed, right? It was an available space to start taking all my food preps and putting my food preps in there that were in the living room in that 14-year-old little corner cubby thing that I made. And they put a lot of bins in there. They were stacking and packing my home canned goods. Just yada-de-ya. Okay. Yeah. And, I only get a peep every now and then. Because she was living down there, so it wasn't like I could do anything about it. I just couldn't. This should, yeah, okay. I don't even know how this is going to record it. Where am I? There. So, okay. And then, at some point, over the last month and a bit, somebody took a bin. I know there's a bin missing. Okay? Whatever was in the bin, they must have threw. I don't know. I don't know where they opened up something where a whole bunch of those were stacked in there and some other stuff. But again, it wasn't like I could go down there and try and fix it up, or organize it, or anything, because, by this time, Marina's gung-ho, fully, well, they emptied out the 14-year-old food storage, put it where a bunch of mice were already, and then she set up her sewing area, okay, whatever, and, of course, I couldn't do anything underneath the steps because of being locked out of the basement, basically. Yeah. So I left it. And then by the time they started moving out and all that crap, okay, that's where some of this showed up over the last month or so. So I look, and I'm like, okay, now you're moving out. I get time now to work without being interrupted. Right? And all of a sudden I see a bunch of these kind of things. Okay. But I don't have time, right? To deal with it. And, some of them disappeared, literally. So that means somebody threw them out. Yeah. Well, the mice did. They chewed a little hole here, or whatever, poked a hole so it would, if you notice, this one's vacuum sealed. A couple of them popped their seals because of being moved around, and the plastic got poked or whatever. Or one bag of mouse had chewed at the corner of it. And then when I was down there cleaning just the other day, getting, right, because I want to, right, I pulled one of these bags that has now been compromised because of being moved around, tossed around, whatever, that came out of some kind of bin or bucket or something, right? I can't determine what year it is. Andre says it's 2011, but I'm wondering if he's not reading that wrong. And this is 2021, which isn't that old. And even if it was 2011, they'd still be fine. You see, that's the thing. And with that, when I think about that kind of stuff, I think about, Mrs. Gill saying, well, get rid of it. It's past its expiry date, as if these are not, these are best by dates. Expiry is when it's rotten. That's when it expired, okay? But besides that point, coming from a country where you have 1 million street children, well, yeah, 1 million homeless children. I think it's 1 million, or is it 20 million? No, sorry. In the 1990s, India had 20 million homeless kids across their continent. Now, mind you, it's a big continent, but still 20 million, where people are like starving, especially within that caste system when they're the poorest of the poor. So, I think that in that situation, maybe it's been a while since you visited, like Mrs. Gill, right? Visited a village in India. I don't care where in India. And they had very little to eat. And they were scrounging around for every chickpea that they could find in terms of, in a processing plant, when a processing plant is processing food or whatever it is, and then, they have their little leftovers, and they sweep the floor, and then they sweep it into a pile, and then they put it outside where the savages in the community come, and they pick through that pile of dust and whatever, just to find a chickpea, so that they can maybe find a cup full, so that they can take that 1 cup of chickpeas to their family home and boil it up and make a little bit of soup and give that to their children, their elderly, right? Or whoever's living with them, okay? I don't know why I'm in touch with that reality, because I know it's a reality for a lot of people, where my landlord, who came from India, is so out of touch of that reality that whatever was perpetrated over in India in terms of the corruption within the Indian people themselves, within their own governments and continent, because they're not Puritans. You can't tell me there is no Indian. I don't care if Hindu, Punjabi, Tamil, or whatever, okay? Where they don't lie, they don't steal, they don't commit murder, they don't commit fraud, they don't do extortion, they don't do anything wrong. They commit absolutely no sin. That's how perfect they are as a collective, quote-unquote, brown race. So therefore, when they came from India and then came to Canada, not one came over with any kind of ill will and impurity in their heart when it comes to being human and committing crimes or sins. I suppose depend on the severity of the subject in terms of, that was wrong what you did. No, it wasn't. It was ethical what I did. Okay, you get what I'm saying here, right? Okay, so now that I took that little detour, all right, so it's not a crime, and you know what? More reason to stand my ground. Seriously. Whatever ground that is that I'm standing on, I just need to keep standing on it. Okay? Because it is not illegal to own food. And there is no limit, quote unquote, to the amount of food that you own when it's for personal use. Because when my landlord came upstairs and he seen my food buckets up here, and whatever I've got going over there for Amari or whatever, he's saying, well, it's not a warehouse. And he's looking at it, right? I said, yeah, well, you're right. It's not. It's not illegal to do food prep. Those are my buckets. When I'm organized no more downstairs, the majority of them are going to go downstairs. right? It's just I couldn't go downstairs and do what I needed to do because of basically my son's wife, right? And now that I am going to be able to go downstairs, you know, I know you want miracles happening, but miracles aren't happening for me here. So I can only do so much at one time. So at some point, yeah, you know, I'm planning. That's why they're there. They're ready to go down. I just haven't quite figured out where I'm going to put them yet. And once they're down and I set up that kitchen, I do plan on using it with no joy, because there is no joy. There's no safety. There's no peace, right? There's no comfort. There's fear. You know, why are you wasting your time? Just do nothing and just wait for the shit show to show up and play out in front of you. And then what? Walk out the door with nothing, absolutely zero, nothing. Or just steady as you go, set it up. There's going to come a day when you can use these chickpeas where you want to use them. Now, back to the chickpeas. Oh yeah, no, I want to clarify. I want to clarify. Do I have any coffee in here? I want to clarify. Yeah, I do. I want to clarify. It's not illegal to own food. If I didn't have enough food, that would be ammunition for social workers to use against me. Right? If I didn't have enough food and I come into a financial crisis because somebody in my family got illegally apprehended through MCFD, so the income drops because you lose, you know, your baby bonus or whatever, right? If you're below that threshold in terms of you're not the well-off to do, so you get federal benefits. Okay, something every immigrant that comes into this country gets with their 5, 6, 7, 8 kids, right? To cover $4,500 a month for a house because the parents can afford it because of the child tax benefit from the government for those kids. I seen that at Gateway Place back in the day when I lived at Gateway Place, the politics around that crap. Anyway, it's all geared to yeah. So, okay, it's not, okay, so, right, it's not illegal to own food. If it's just a little bit, then, you know, you got empty cupboards and you live on the edge with it. Then, if you have kids, it can be used against you, right? If you build in any kind of food security, where, you know, you have a household, you have the household budget, and then somebody falls off the grid, whether they're illegally apprehended, Mother Sierra gets kicked out illegally, so she's not paying rent, right? Uncle John gets medically kidnapped, can't come home. So whatever he was contributing to the house went out the door, right? And if I didn't have food in the house back in those days with minor kids, because Tisha was a minor, Shmei had just gotten out of school, I think, right? Marcane was in college, and by that time I had Andre, but still, you know, if I wouldn't have had that food prep, I wouldn't have, it would have been really hard. All right. And then, of course, just whatever. I had credit, invested some money into buckets with camelids. Whoop-de-fucking, I'm sorry, boo-boo-doo. But I'm glad I did at this point, assuming they're still down there, because honestly, you know, if I say, oh, I'm missing this, this, and this, oh, it's your imagination station, you can't see, you don't know what you got, right? You haven't seen, but whatever, well, you know, you're senile, blah, blah, okay, no, whatever. This came out of either a bucket or it came out of a bin. And because there was so many of them, and just the way I vacuum sealed them, I don't know. I think this is in 2021. I do. I don't think it's 2011. I think Andre read the label wrong. And that would mean that these would be organic. And even if they were 2011, they'd still be fine. So, to accuse me of having a warehouse, or even to suggest that I'm storing food as if it was in a quote-unquote warehouse because I plan for the future, whether it be a natural disaster and the grid shut down, yada, that would be the worst case scenario, then yeah, I could not only feed my immediate family, that's who's in the house, but if Tisha came with her hubby and the kids and yada, I could, and freaking smash and grab Rhea showed up at the door, right, I would have fed them too. That's the worst case scenario. And I could have done it for well over a year if everybody wouldn't be a glutton about it and complain about it's not what they want to eat. Oh well, it's something, eat it, be happy you got it, be grateful. Because there are people out in the world waiting for the mill to finish doing whatever the mill does so the janitor can come along and sweep up the floor and then take that crap, dust and all and blah, 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 and throw it into one big pile outside so all the savages can come outside looking and picking and sifting through to get a little bit of food to take home to their mothers, fathers, and children's aunts, uncles, sisters, and whoever's living under the roof, you know, and be happy at least for that one day. Okay? So, because Mr. Gill said, you know, warehouse, and I'm like, yeah, no, this is going downstairs, and it's not illegal to have food, and if you want to compare it to a warehouse, you know, I'm not selling it. I don't sell it. As a matter of fact, it's becoming my savior. Yeah. You know what my biggest expense is for a grocery bill? To the bare bones? Which means I'll be doing soon, because I'm running out of this and that when it comes to whipping cream. Real whipping cream. Not lab-grown whipping cream with cow milk DNA and yeast, but real whipping cream, which comes in at about a $7 per liter. Well, it's 9.36 grams for like $7. When I buy, I usually buy two, because we give to Amari all the time, right? Like my next shop, right? So I'll buy two of those, at least 3 jugs of milk, which won't last very long. Two containers for sure of cottage cheese, which would be large. Anywhere between 4 to 6 or so, at least, of yogurt, depending on the price and if they're on sale. And if they're a good price, then I'd probably buy 8. Depending on how much butter I have, but I'll probably, well, I may or may not buy butter because I still got butter. I'll probably buy about 6 or 7 cartons of eggs, because I go through a lot of eggs because Andre eats a lot of eggs. Right? What else? Maybe 1 container of sour cream or something like that. Maybe 2. Because the last container that I had we just ate with a baked potato or some kind of potato or something, I don't know. Andre just wolfed it down because he's growing, so he's wolfing things down, right? So I'd buy that, okay? That's like under emergency, bare bones. This is my bare bone grocery shop. All right, and then another bag of potatoes. Now I am thinking of giving some potatoes to my neighbors next door because they're growing roots like crazy. And, you know, maybe I'll eat them, maybe I won't. And I still, even if I was to give them some next door, I'd still have some. So before they go to waste, I'd rather somebody want to eat them, right? I mean, You know, it would be nice if I could throw them in the yard, but they're not organic. So it's better to plant organic potatoes versus just potatoes that have been sprayed. Either or, you know, finish up with the potatoes. So before I buy new potatoes, I want to get rid of the old potatoes, whether I give some to my neighbors with some onions that I have here, which I can afford to give because I've got a full bag and a little left over. Again, better to have somebody else have it versus them just sitting there and going to waste, right? Being that I already have a 10-pound bag. And so I'd buy a bag of potatoes. So we got all the dairy stuff for them, right? So we got all the dairy stuff. That's the main stuff that I would buy. And I'd buy it in bulk like that. Maybe a couple of containers of pre-made already, and it's like, it comes and it sits in the fridge, right? It's at 500 grams. Rice pudding with raisins, because the calorie count on that is pretty good. And that would just be basically for Amari, right? Okay. And then a bag of potatoes, for sure. But I'll use up these ones or give them away, one or the other. And sweet potatoes. For some reason, all my I had the sweet potatoes, but they disappeared. I don't know what happened to them. I'm feeling around. They're not there. So somebody ate some sweet potatoes or took sweet potatoes, I think. Well, they didn't eat them. I know I made a couple, but I know there was more than that, but they're not there now. They disappeared. So I don't know what happened to them. Unless I'm missing something. Alright, so I'd buy some sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes. I don't need carrots. Don't want to shop at Walmart. Tisha bought me a couple of things at Walmart, and the oranges are already spoiling. And that hasn't even been a few days. She bought them last week on Thursday or something, or Wednesday or something. And they're like, I'm throwing them out already. And when I tried them a couple days ago, I didn't even like them. So, but I'd buy like something like that, like an orange, but I want to go to a different place and pick up just whatever, right? A couple of cucumbers, a couple tomatoes, something like that. Nothing too much. Because it goes to waste. Because I always get busy doing something else or whatever, and it's not getting cooked up fast enough. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's just basically a bag of cat food. Bag of cat food. That's it. Buy all that, you're looking at $150 or so. Just for that shit. And it will last me. The milk will last me a week or so. If I decide to make pudding, obviously it will go faster, right? And the eggs will last hopefully 2 weeks. Hopefully. Because, every now and then I'll eat an egg, or Mari needs more eggs. But Andre keeps eating them, so whatever. Maybe I'll buy 10 cases of eggs. Actually, no, there's this Muslim place that I want to go to. And I think they sell farm eggs. Because if I remember correctly, the last time I was in there, which was a couple of years ago, and they probably still have their little shop. They had all their eggs on the outside. They weren't on the inside, and they were on trays. And I think I asked them if they were farm eggs, and they said yes. So, I'd like to go see if they're selling farm eggs like that. Because if they are, I'd buy a whole whack of them. Yeah, I'd put them in the fridge. And I'd buy them just for the fact that they came from the farms and have more nutrition on them. Not on them, but inside them. Alright, besides that point. So, maybe $150. If I go outside the box and see some, buy a little this or a little, maybe 200 or whatever. The point is, everything else, we're good. Andre, I had him go into a different cupboard today, and he ended up finding some chunky soup that he likes, which is Texas-style chili chunky soup. He really likes that one, And you can't buy it. You can't seem to find them in the grocery store online last time I've been looking. And so, you know, he's so happy that he found those, eh? Because, you know, we ran out of milk. So he was looking for evaporated milk. I should have evaporated milk downstairs, whether it's a whole 24 case full. Seriously. Now, whether it's there or not remains to be seen, because again, all right, so anyway, I'm hoping to find that evaporated milk downstairs. So in the meantime, I don't even know so I got this stuff. I'm gonna go, but my eye really hurts. And if I bend and I look down like this, or I move too fast, or, right, it's that snow globe. You shake the snow globe, it comes all, I either get a big black kind of rusty blob in front of my eye, or everything goes real white, depending on what I'm looking at. And I'm going to open up these chickpeas, and I guess I'll come back and talk about chickpeas, because that's really what I wanted to talk about, so hold on. Okay, so what's going to happen here is I'm going to see if Andre can put this on a computer, import it onto the computer, and then put it into the editor, convert it over, blah, blah, blah. Because I did that with the last video. It was too hard. So in the meantime, we're going to talk about these chickpeas. Now this camera should be charged, considering what happened last time I used it. I'm struggling a lot with my eye right now. Ideally, I'd like to just not do anything, but I did that when I was sleeping. Anyway, the eye doctor warned me, Dr. Raj, not the one that did the operation, not my regular one, but the one that did the first checkup. It's going to be like a roller coaster. No, this is worse than a roller coaster. I feel like it's aging me, where I'm like, you know, okay, see these? I'm pretty sure these are, I don't remember. They're either Cantatelli, they gotta be Cantatelli, but they're small. Very small. And they were in a jar. So I can make room for some of these chickpeas, because I was thinking of giving whatever I could sell, because something went missing. I know it did. Because, oh, here, I'll show you. Hopefully you'll be able to see. That's all I could rescue. Plus that other bag. Where's that other bag? I don't know where it is. The one that's still vacuum sealed. Okay. I don't know where I put it. Anyway, there's that one chickpea bag that's vacuum sealed. Okay? Look how small this box is. Very small. And then we've got, because, you know, they put it where the mice could chew. It was done on purpose. This bag here seems like it just got popped recently. Alright, so I'm going to open up that. That's probably chickpeas. Like, this is, or I don't know. Anyway, you can see chickpeas, right? Got the air, it just got poked. Because when I looked down there a couple, 2-3 weeks ago, they were still vacuum sealed. But I had Andre go downstairs and grab, and you know, people have been digging and moving things around. And they're like slowly but surely disappearing. Now, I was just going to give these to my neighbors just because I'm stressed out. But, you know, with everybody running around, I don't know, acting like quote-unquote expired food, is so dangerous in terms of if you take it to a village, I don't care if it's in Africa, doesn't matter what the country is. If you take it to the continent of India, if you take it to a place like Cambodia or Bangladesh or places like that, people would weep to have this food. Okay? So in the meantime, I know there's a fella next door that, now this is something else that got vacuum sealed. It's tight as all can be. I can't read it right now. But once I read it, like, you know, did it come from a bucket or where did it come from? And right? Because it almost looks like some of my labels have been washed off. Because I use black pen, right? So I don't know what's inside. It's kind of small. Now this was in the 14-year-old food storage area. I know for a fact. Because, right? But I can't tell you what it is. So, you know, because when Tony, when he came to my house and I was paying him to help me start, you know, clearing out, like working in the playroom so I could take out what was in the closet, because I was looking for my costumes, which, by the way, a lot of my costumes got stolen in the last few years. There's really only one finger that I can point it at, like one, you know, one person that would have done that. But really nice ones. My really, 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 really nice. They must have been downstairs. I was so hoping they'd be upstairs, but they're not. So I had a lot of beautiful costumes stolen from me. So anyway, he came to help me to clear out the closet. So, you know, I was hoping to find the costumes. I didn't find the costumes, which tells me that they got stolen downstairs, and there's only one person that would have done that. But besides that point, we came across a couple of boxes that had corned beef in it and something else. I don't know what it was. So he looked at the can and he read the date on it, right? And I think those ones, you know, best whatever 2024. He goes, "Oh, this is expired." Now this is a refugee person that came to Canada under a refugee status. And I guess he's been to several different countries throughout Africa before he showed up here. Basically homeless, waiting for subsidized housing, enjoys and doesn't mind eating food from the local charities or whatever that feed basically the homeless, right? Thinks it's grand to, because I said, well, you know, like, you're complaining about it being cold and all this crap and blah, 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 and blah. And I'm like, well, wouldn't you want to go back to Africa? Wouldn't it be better to be living in Africa, considering how you're not getting anywhere here in Canada? You're homeless, you know, in winter time, and, you know, you're having to eat, you know, I have to be at such a place at such time just to get breakfast. Otherwise, he doesn't eat until the next location that serves some free food, right? Like, that's no way to live. You shouldn't want better for yourself. Why did you come for Canada? Like, why did you come to Canada? To live like that? But for whatever reason, he doesn't mind it. And I said, oh, so you're saying it's worse than all those other countries that you came from when you were in Africa? He basically said, yeah. So, I guess in Africa there's no free food. And if it is, it's probably something like I'm talking about, where you have to go to the mill, wait for the janitor to chuck everything outside that they don't want, so that you can come and filter and pillage through that and sift out this and sift out that, so you can go home with a cup or two of something for your family to eat. Because when he said, oh, you know, this is old, and I'm like, no, it's not old. Like my landlord, oh, get rid of it. It's May of 2024. It's expired. Get rid of it. Chuck it out. No. Like, so, you know, what I'm trying to say is I'm a little nervous to go and give that to my neighbors next door. Because it's old. Because psychologically, I'm being conditioned, second guess myself, you know, accept the abuse, accept the insults, right? Accept my lot in life, right? Don't question the narrative, right? And yeah, you know, I mean, considering what happened with the potato and the onion when I was gone for surgery, right? I mean, clearly there was a mission in there to get food, even if it was only a potato and a freaking onion, which I have here, onions that, like, I'm thinking to give to them. I've got these old potatoes growing roots. I left some for me, but, you know, I just rather just give them what they have and try and use the few that I have, right? You know, I've got enough around. I don't need any more. Look, you know, I've got ones that are growing like long ones like that. Like, I'd rather somebody eat it than not eat it. And it's not like I can run out and put it in my garden. And since I've got these busted up bags of chickpeas, whether they're from or whatever they are, this is not chickpeas. So yeah, this came from the 2004. This came from the 14-year-old food storage area. So how it ended up in one big pile, I don't know. I just don't know. But it did. And now, you know, I'm having to rebag it. Or I was thinking to just throw it all into one big Walmart bag, take it over next door with some onions. Right? I think the onions are there. Where's the onions? Yeah, like right here. I mean, if you've got a house full of people that are hungry, you know, that are hungry. If you got a house full of people that are hungry, basically, right? You know, on fixed incomes, money ran out, you know? Like these, I don't need them. Last time I went shopping was a couple of weeks ago or 3 weeks ago or something like that, like from Canadian Superstore, or maybe even 4 weeks ago. I bought a bag of onions. So I got like, but these are the old onions when I bought 20 pounds. And I already gave them next door some of those onions from that bag, right? I already gave them some. And I still have. And then when I did my last shop, which is probably really honestly a month ago, or something like that from Canadian Superstore, I bought this bag. It was supposed to be 10 pounds or something like that. I don't know. For like $4 at 10 pounds. And I thought, what the hell, even though I had those little bit of onions. Right? So, you know, look. Now, they're holding up good. Now, mind you, they're holding up really, really good, right? Look. Okay. So, if I give them old potatoes with roots that are like some of them like that in terms of roots, or are they going to talk bad about me? Because I gave them potatoes with roots on them? Because I don't want them to go to waste, and I'd rather have somebody have at least a little something to eat versus nothing. You know, these onions are perfectly fine, right? I'm not going to eat all these onions. And before they start to go, I'd rather just give them Rooty potatoes, you don't want them? Throw them in the compost. Put them in the garden. Put them in the yard. Dig them into the ground. Maybe you'll get a little potato plant. Have some fresh potatoes by the end of summer. So I was thinking of giving them this. I was. But I'm beating myself up. No, you don't want to draw any more negative attention towards yourself. Be accused of giving away old food to your neighbors. If you're going to give to your neighbors, it's got to be like right off the freaking, you know, you buy them and then give. Yeah, right. These ones, you know, when my son lived here, oftentimes I'd buy like, you know, 10 pounds, 20 pounds of whatever, right? You know, he'd scoop up on them here and there, at which I had no problem. Right now, these onions I can see there are bigger. These ones are bigger compared to these other ones. They're small, right? Now I could use these to chop these up, just put them on plates to start disinfecting the air in terms of, you know, just whatever. Or put them underneath my feet with some socks to make my feet feel better. Ideally, I'd like to eat onions every day, but, you know, it's kind of hard for me to do anything. And onions are not necessarily Andre's forte. So, okay. So now that I've felt around, this stuff is from the 14-year-old food storage area. That was not, well, maybe it wasn't a bin. I don't know. But it's not what I'm thinking, right? Because, here, let's open up this. It has something here. I will probably, because it can't stay like this now. So I already opened it, yeah. I already cut the bag, right? Now I could just simply give this to my neighbors as is. I can't read it. We'll put it right there. But I'm not in the mood to be cut down. Whether people see it as, oh, she's just, what does she think we are? I don't think anything. Okay? Outside of, I don't like to be wasteful and necessarily take things for granted. Okay? Alright, so what, this is a lentil. I can see this. So yeah, this would have came from, just the way it's packaged, I'm pretty sure it's 2011. So I think Andre read that right. And on the bag itself, a mouse did start to chew. I felt it. Where is it? And that's why it lost its vacuum seal. Right there. And that's why it doesn't have its vacuum seal anymore. But the bag itself, for the most part, is intact except for right here. So, is there a mouse in the bag? Oh, God forbid. In this bag, I'm going to empty it in here, and then is the mouse going to jump out and dash off? You would think if there was a mouse in there, it would start to squeak. Now, a lot of people would say throw out this bag because somehow, some way, it got contaminated. To which, again, take it to the mill with the savages on the outside waiting for the scraps, where in the mill itself is full of rodents, okay? Depending on where the mill is and what country, doesn't matter. There's always savages on the outside looking for the scraps. And the reason I call them savages is because the epitome of what is right in our society, well, however they, you know, justify that as a human being, to elevate themselves so that they can kick everybody else below them down the street like a can, you know, they seem to, that's how they view them, as savages. That's how they view people like me. because I put myself in their shoes. I'm at the mill right now, digging through the dust and the particles of this and particles of that, and you know, little bits of this and little bits of that, and if there happened to be some rats or something running around shitting on the floor, and the janitor comes and just sweeps it all up into one freaking pile, and blah, and you know, you go home and you wash the stupid shit that, you know, in terms of the chickpea or whatever it was that you picked out one by one. You picked out one by one because you wanted to go home and feed your family something, because that's the kind of stupid country that you live in, where they'd rather starve you as they rape your resources through corporations. Yeah. Treat the general population like a slave commodity. Welcome to the new Congo, aka. They got places in India where they put people to work and they can't go to the bathroom all day. Literally. They can't urinate, and they can't have bowel movements because there's no place for them to go, right? In terms of proper washrooms and that kind of stupid shit. And they go to work and they work and they have to hold it, and they've conditioned their body somehow, some way to do that. Oh yeah. And then after we're all said and done, they go out into a freaking field, man, and they release themselves in some field. Do you honestly think if a bag of something like this was sitting on the road under those conditions, where they're working for pennies on the dollar, and this might cost a week's worth of wage just to feed their family the bare bones? Do you honestly think that they would walk away from it because a little mouse chewed a little hole in it? No. Mm-mm. No, they wouldn't. Smells like lentils. No. In a situation like this, obviously it would be nice to see better, but I'm very experienced with this stuff, so it's not like I have to see exactly everything the way I'd like to see it. And that's why I do this stuff, even though it makes me feel like crap because my eye hurts. But besides that point, like I said, I try and pace myself a little here and pace myself a little there. So being that I'm pacing myself, now we've got some lentils here. Okay, you can see that. So in a situation like that, I'm going to go get the sieve. And being that this is actually a lentil, I'm going to use this strainer right here. Okay? Which has fairly big holes in it. I should have put it in that first. I thought these were all chickpeas, but they're not. And yeah, they came from the 14-year-old food storage area. So that's okay. If I gave it to my neighbors, honestly, I think the majority would be very happy to have it. Because I don't think they're that stupid, considering their situation with some of those people, which isn't a joke. And no matter how people with money like to justify keeping people in poverty, and that as they hope for those people to destroy themselves because of lack of hope. in terms of being able to dig yourself out and have a normal life. There comes a time when people will just give up, and they'll accept their lot, and they'll, go with what's comfortable, right? And they'll always be dependent, no matter what, to one degree or another. Okay, so I can't see, but I can feel. So I'm just going through this, just shaking out anything that's a debris of some kind. Right? You know how you... Alright. Now, mind you, these are old. And when I bought them, however they came in, they went into the bag like that. Now, if I really wanted to, and this is something to consider, I can use this in cat food. Yeah. Assuming that my jars downstairs for cat food are still there. I could cook up some of this in cat food. If I was grodied out because the little mouse happened to chew a little hole and ran off with a few of those out of a whole bag. There's a reason why we rinse things off and we cook them to a certain point in terms of temperature to kill off pathogens of whatever kind of pathogens depending on the pathogen. When it comes to bacteria and that kind of stuff. Botulism. And really, the only thing that can spread germs or bacteria or whatever, mainly is water. You always got to have that conductor. Unless it came off the press contaminated with something. Through the processing. And through the, through the way they process things in mills and factories and those kind of things. Right? And then of course you, what do you call it? You, before you go to cook, you'll always look for rocks and any other little pieces of debris. Right? That is, in these grains, or beans, or lentils, or whatever. Well, not so much grains as it is beans and lentils, right? Before you eat them, before you cook them. I mean, that's common knowledge. You always have to look for the little bits of rocks and this and that, or broken bean, or whatever the hell it is. I have a choice. I can either keep it for cat food if I want, which I might consider, keep it for myself, which I might cook up a little bit tomorrow just to see how it goes, and maybe that's what I'll do. Like, clearly this is a split one, so, take it out, but whatever. If I bit into one, it ain't gonna kill me, that's for sure. I can tell you that right now. Just to prove it, I'll show you. Some random lentil Yeah, it's a lentil. It actually tastes pretty good. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised these if you wanted to sprout them, they'd sprout. Yeah. Just by the taste of it. Or I could give them to the Africans, tell them where they came from, what happened to them. And I just say Africans because that's the majority of people over there in terms of that local, my neighbor, right? All kinds of people go there. But whoever's there, I could give it to them. Tell them the story behind it. I would say the majority of them would be grateful to have it. But of course, in every crowd, there's always a naysayer. The one that knows everything and wants to be in control. The one that doesn't want you to be happy, so therefore they go out of their way to make you miserable by any means necessary. Even if it means taking food away from you, just so they have a point to prove. No. Guilt trip for you for eating old food. Yeah, right. As they sit there and eat their, what? Burger King? Freaking food that you got from the shelter over there, and you sat and you started eating in front of everybody while everybody else is hungry, and you're telling them not to eat this, but yet you're stuffing your face. Doesn't matter whether you went off and bought it for yourself or somebody gave it to you. What's the difference? You're sitting there stuffing your face, and everybody else around you is looking at you and they're hungry, and you're telling them they can't eat that after they cook it properly? Like, come on. And it tastes not bad. It really doesn't. Actually tastes pretty good. Yeah. This is not warehousing. This is food prep because I don't have to buy this shit. I have to spend $150 on milk products and eggs. But I don't have to buy none of this crap. No, no, no. So, I was going to use this jar for chickpeas, but I guess I don't have enough. I've got different things here. So I'm just going to put them in plastic bags for now. Because they're different things. Because I think I know where they came from. In terms of that 14-year-old food storage, where some of that stuff wasn't in a bin, but there was stuff in a bin. So some of this stuff maybe came from a bin because whatever was initially first put there was more. And then when I went back a few weeks later to look, it kind of is less, which tells me somebody already threw something out. And when I leave this planet, literally, I'll be so glad to get away from that wastefulness, and I don't know what it's called. I'm sure there's a word in the English language that I just don't know about in terms of thinking about how it's spelled, thinking about its definition so that I can identify the word, or how it's written and pronounced, right? Where it's beyond gluttony in terms of whatever that person has. They're so consumed with gluttony that they would never ever be faced with this situation where you'd have to choose about what I just said, in terms of if you had to choose and dig around in the dirt outside the mill, regardless of the country, to get that so that you could take it home to your family and feed them, regardless of whether there was wood chips in it, freaking dirt in there, rat shit, whatever, because the janitor just came and swept up the floor after they did the mill for the day kind of thing, and then just whooshed it out into this big pile, and along comes the savages, and they sifting through it, just kind of like those garbage pickers, where they go, and there's like 20,000 of them picking whatever they can find to make a few pennies, so that they can, plastic or whatever they can find, to make a few pennies so they can go sell it to the plastic dude and make a couple cents so they can buy one cup of that and take it home and feed it to their 4 kids. If you're full of gluttony and nothing but gluttony and give me more, I gotta have the best of everything. Anything that you see that I have is the best of anything and everything. Way more superior than what you'll ever have. And even when you have something, it's still not good enough to my standards, who is the glutton and has to have everything. There's got to be a word for it. Gluttony is only a part of it. And then the other part is, and I mean, it's all mental too, right? A lot of it's just mental, where you know, you feel you're superior. You're the first one in line. It's you first and everybody else last. There is no seconds. Right? And if there are seconds, well, before the ones in the last could get it, the ones in the front, where it's you, and nothing but you know, they're gonna, what, give it to their family members? As a second? Which still leaves everybody else last after the fact? And it stays like that? It never changes? And then the people get comfortable with it? And they accept their lot? There's a word, it's a word. I know it's a word, I just can't put my finger on that word. Okay, so these are not bad. No. I don't eat a lot of lentils. Well, I don't ever eat lentils. When I make Mari's food, I cook up lentils, but I'm going to make something, I'm going to make a cup of these tomorrow. So I'm going to put one in a cup, and I'm going to cook something with this tomorrow. And these I'm just going to put in a plastic bag. Let's see, I got some plastic, I was looking for my new ones, but I can't find them. So that's okay. I'm just going to rebag them up. And then I'll decide at a later date what I'm going to do with them. Yeah. I don't know how secure these bags are, but these are a lot. Now, when I do stuff like this, I like to put them in one-size gallon jars with oxygen absorbers. But in 2011, I didn't know anything about that stuff. Oh yeah, so why don't we leave it on this? So I started my I always had extra food in the house in case of an emergency because of my kids, right? That was a given, right? And then when I moved in here, and I had extra people, you know, Auntie Joan, whatever, right? And then Fukushima came and just whatever. And then I, you know, was doing that. And I was doing that. And then, of course, things progressed, right? And then, of course, things progressed, right? I'm going to cook up 1 cup tomorrow. See how I like it. And I'll make a salad with it after the fact. But I'll make sure Andre takes a good look at it. But from what I could tell, what I bit into and chewed on, tasted like a lentil. So, but I don't like doing this because I can't really see, right? I know it's hard, eh? Okay, so nothing in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing like I just did to another bag. Get these bags, just cleaning them up right now. See what's going on. Okay, here's another one. Now, this one just got poked. It was vacuum sealed, but nothing managed to start nibbling on it. Okay? See, doing this kind of stuff, I just hope I'm not hurting my eye because I can feel it starting to run water. So, I kind of have to do something. I can't just sit here and do nothing. And now my ear is like ringing. You know how that happens, right? This is probably another lentil. And of course I lost the scissors, right? Can't find the scissors. Just can't see them. Oh my God. Are you here? No. How's my eye doing? Oh, this is stupid now. There's my aspirin. Yeah, when I leave the world, I don't have to worry about gluttony and being wasteful and just whatever. Maybe that's what I'll do when I go blind. I'll get a talking dictionary and I'll do a Malcolm X. We'll start with the letter A, with the very first word in terms of a dictionary, but only as by voice. And maybe one day I'll come across that word that I'm looking for right now. I don't know what it is. I just know that there's a name for it. And when I go, I'll be very happy to get away from it. Because you know how they say money is the root of all evil. I've seen a lot of evil. Honest to God. Oh my God, I had the freaking things. Where did they go? I don't want to get stressed out over scissors. Stupid. Completely stupid. They are. Okay, let's just, for the fun of it, see what's in this one here. very small little teeny weeny hole. Those mice, I have to get underneath those steps and get that cleared out and get this poison shit in there. Oh yeah. Okay, so this feels like, I don't know what. If I had to put a name to it, I'd say chickpeas, but they're very dry and small. I'm not sure what that is. There's a label on it, but because I'm moving my head around a lot, I can't see shit. I'd say it's a chickpea of some kind, which you could grind up no prob. Some of them clearly didn't make it. I can feel that. It's dry, it's small. Some of them are very small. But you could still use it for cat food, I'm sure. Andre will look at them, tell me what he thinks of them. Same idea. Now, if I gave this stuff to my neighbors, whether I did this or not, and just left them in the bag as is, just to save myself time, some potatoes with roots on them, and I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 pounds, well, 4 pounds anyway, of onions that are in still pretty good shape, actually. Do you think they'd be insulted, considering the circumstances of some of those people over there? Well, I don't know. I think it really depends on how much you take things for granted sometimes, right? That's why whatever word I'm looking for is more than just gluttony, right? It's because, you know, when you become gluttonous, and that's what drives you, then you take things for granted. And you expect too much. It turns you into a psychopath, eventually. I'd say these are chickpeas. Where are you now? See? When the Punjabis had that garage next door and they were running that little business out of it, and that's another part of the word. So we got the gluttony, taking things for granted, and then being hypocritical. Okay? So you think you're better than everybody else and you're a glutton, so therefore you get first and everybody else gets last, except for the ones that you give second twos, at your discretion. And then because you think you're first, therefore you take everything that is around you, it doesn't matter what it is, for granted, and you expect to, you think it's your right. It's your right, it's your privilege. It's more than a silver spoon, right? So that you can continue to be whatever it is you're doing, right? In terms of whatever. And then, what was the last one? Hypocrisy. But, ultimately, I don't know, there's nothing perfect on this planet. Nobody is more worthy than the next, and just because you have money doesn't mean that the next person beside you who doesn't is not worthy. Right? But because you got money, somehow you place your worth on that with, you're the most worthy on the planet, so therefore you don't do no wrong no matter what, which ends up putting you in a position of being a hypocrite. right? So now you're a hypocrite, right? Because, you know, don't tell me you don't do nothing wrong in order for you to be in the perfect position in life where everything is owed to you no matter what, however it comes to you, and you take it all for granted, right? And then, yeah, you know, I used to lay on my couch, and at one point I had a little camera going out the window, but it didn't work very good. But anyway, you know, you could see the rats running in underneath the garage door when they were running that little restaurant next door. Long time. I'm running around on the outside. They still got rats over there. Hell, I'm not complaining. I'm not saying I'm better, because we haven't heard anything moving around up on the roof there for a couple of 2-3 weeks. But that's in the ceiling. But that doesn't mean it's not coming back. It just means that they either went off someplace else. I don't know. Andre was said that they smelled, when they cleared out Tisha's room in the wall, there was something that smelled dead. So maybe that rat died in the wall. I don't know. Because it ate some rat poison or something. Okay. Just little flakes of, you know, just like little bits of this and bits of that, like as if it was like a broken bean or like a broken lentil, or yeah. This is I'm pretty sure this is a chickpea. I'm pretty sure it's a chickpea. So I'm weak. I don't know if you can see that. Has a little pointy end on it. They're just really, really dry. But you can take it to a food mill, or you can cook them. You can use them for dog food. You can use them for cat food. You can use them for what is that called? Human food. Or you could be that person where I don't have a name, a word. It's a word that groups those, at least those 3 categories, under one kind of character trait. It's a word that relates to a character trait. You gotta be a certain kind of person to condone, instigate. Now I'm hearing something move. That could be Elsie downstairs. Oh my God. Speaking of rodents. Where people in a village have to go to the mill and wait outside for scraps. And then criticized for their impoverished position, where they even have to be in that situation, while the corporations around them, because you know there's corporations somewhere in there, are not only raping the land and the waterways, but they're also exploiting the people in terms of a workforce, depending on the geographical location and what's either being mined, if it's mining operation, or what's being produced, as in a manufacturing company where they need all the water to do whatever it is that they're doing, so that when the runoff comes and it ends up going downstream and pollutes the water as it goes out to the villages You know how that system works, right? And then the people in the villages get polluted out because they're drinking bad water that's coming from the corporation that's up the river, manufacturing whatever, as the people themselves are scrounging around for this kind of shit, never mind looking for clean drinking water. Okay, so we're gonna do a little experiment. Is that recording? I don't know. I can't tell. Yeah, I think so. Okay, I recharged the battery for a little bit. So I'm pretty much done with what I have here. Obviously, it would be better if I could see, right? Now, this is, I'm pretty sure this is lentils that I just bought recently from Organic Matters. Yeah. Green lentils, which, honestly, 2025. I either bought them in December or January. I'm sorry. Yeah, either the first week of January or the last 1 or 2 weeks of. No, I bought them on December 20th, and I didn't get them until the 29th of December of 2025. So these are new. They're new. And they're organic. And they really have no flavor. Very little. Very, very, very little. These are whole green lentils. All right. And you can hear it. It's crunchy. Now, I don't remember where they came from. I'd have to go back onto the website and see. I don't know if they came from China or if they came from Canada. I don't think they came from the USA. But they're supposed to be, quote-unquote, organic. All right. So we're going to do a little science experiment here. Sorry, I got my eye closed. It's just because it hurts. Yesterday, like not now what I'm doing, the last time I did anything major was when I started emptying out Tisha's room. I think I did dishes too after that. But I started emptying out Tisha's room and I got into a wall unit that had a lot of home canned goods in it. And that, kind of hurt my eye. But besides that point. So we're just going to put green lentils on this. This was the end of the bag. I'm going to do December 25. Well, the rest of them are in Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers already in a bucket. Okay? So that was my last shop for the warehouse, that is. Not that I have a warehouse, because I don't. What I have is food prep. But it seems to me people are trying to criminalize that. And if you know anything about the food prepping community, there are food preppers out there that will tell you that, yeah, people who are food preppers, especially the ones that really are good at it and can spend $100,000 while they do it, and they're targeted by the government, right? Because it shows too much self-sufficiency. That's what it does. So they don't want people to be self-sufficient like that. They see it as some sort of a national threat, or I don't know. So there's always that risk, right? Okay, so we got that much left from a 22-pound bag of green organic lentils that were delivered to my house on December 29th of 2025. And then, okay, so we got that. So we're going to try and sprout some of these, because these should sprout. Now, I can't guarantee how long this camera will last, but I'm almost at the end of this video. And then when we start fresh, we'll get Andre involved and he can help me put everything into some sort of something so that we can see what sprouts and what doesn't sprout. Now this is either brown lentils or green lentils. From 2011. Alright? I already put one in my mouth. I'll put another one in my mouth. Huh? Crunchy. But, believe it or not, this one's more flavorful. Like, it's good. It's good. I like the taste. Now I'm just curious. This is from 2011. Okay. Now, it could be because it's a brown lentil and not a green lentil. I don't know. Where did I buy these? Back in the day? It could be organic. It could not. I'd have to look at the label. So I'm trying to... Anyway. I put this in there. It gives the nutrient value. I don't know if it will tell you exactly what it is. It was written on the bag. Maybe this bag. Because I've been cutting off what I wrote. I just can't read them right. I've been cutting off what I wrote. See, yeah. This is it right here. So I'll cut that off right now. Assuming I can find the freaking scissors. Oh, here we go. Okay, and then at some point, maybe we'll do that today because it's already going on 7 o'clock in the morning, right? And I've been up for quite a few hours already. Okay, so, all right. Some kind of either green lentil or brown lentil from 2011. So we're just going to put this in the bag. Okay. So we've got green lentils from 2025, December, and we've got either green or brown lentils from 2011. And we're going to try and sprout them both and see what happens. And just by the way these ones from 2011 taste, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't sprout. They may or may not be organic. If I remember correctly, when I bought them, they would have been at, I guess you could say, one of my favorite little Punjabi grocery stores that I used to go to all the time. Right? Because, you know, the vegetables and stuff were nice, and they had little things like this around. And but I'm thinking that's where I got it from because, you know, I'm going back in time and I'm remembering where I used to shop. Okay. Obviously, I don't get there very often anymore because I don't drive, can't see. Okay, so anyway, we've got these ones, and we've got the ones from 2011. I mean, 2025. So we're going to get Andre to help me set up a couple of trays. I'm going to use paper towel to keep it moist. And we're going to see if these things from 2011 sprout. Wouldn't that be amazing? Seriously. Yeah. And even if they didn't, because quote-unquote they weren't organic, they don't taste bad. As a matter of fact, I like them better than the ones that I just bought. If I had to choose between the two, I'd choose the ones from 2011 because they're more flavorful. Oh, I'm sitting here getting spooked. I choose these ones before I choose the ones from 2025. Because these ones are more flavorful. But then it could be because it's a brown lentil versus a green lentil, so I don't know. I just know that they taste better. I like them better. So either or, we're going to see what sprouts and what doesn't sprout. And when Andre helps me with that, that's when I'll take out a cup. And maybe I'll cook up 1 cup of each, or a half a cup of each, or whatever. One from 2011 and one from 2025, in 2 separate pots. With the same amount of salt when the time comes, right? Same amount of water, same amount of salt, pretty much at the same amount of heat. Let them cook up, and then do a taste test to see which one you like better. Get out of here, you stupid cats, man. You know, because there's a lot of fake food out there, people. You know? There wasn't so much fake food in 2011 as there is now. Now, I don't know what's in here. Oh, yeah. Those are those Cantatelli beans. I'm pretty sure those are Cantatelli beans. Because I ordered Cantatelli because they're easy to digest. So these are Cantatelli. They're not great northern white beans. These ones are Cantatelli, but they're small. Normally they come in bigger than that. Okay, and then we've got, for lentils, another thing of lentils here. Oh my god. Okay, I just wish I could see, man. And that's different chickpeas. Life is better when you can see. Honest to God, it really is. It really, 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 really is. Okay, and then I've got these little teeny weeny, I don't know, I guess they're kind of called a lentil, I'm not sure. Are they red? Like the reddy orange ones, you know those ones? I think so. Or are they more the yellow ones? They're very small. 2011. They're split. Like they're not whole, right? And they're good. They're good. They taste good. Okay. So, I'm keeping them. I like them. They're actually quite tasty. Now, a long time ago, I bought, you know, I've been buying from Organic Matters for a long time, right? 1 year, in the 2001, 2020, like 2021, 22, and around that time, I would think, I bought kidney beans, red kidney beans from them, eh? And as I was doing whatever I was doing, packing them up, however, I was packing up those ones back in those days, because I wasn't really using Mylar bags in those days either, right? I came across, it was almost like a nail polish. It was the same color as the red kidney bean, but it was a plastic. It made me really, really suspicious about those beans. Oh yeah. And in terms of, you know, that fake food, right? And I'm like, well, did they coat these beans with something? Or, you know, like maybe there are some real beans mixed up with some fake beans, because it was like a hard plastic, like if it was a, you know, right, but the same color as the beans, right? Yeah. So I could see people selling you a product, a bean, a lentil, or something like that, and calling it non-organic or organic, it doesn't really matter. And then 3/4, we'll just say, of the product is an actual bean, quote unquote, where the other quarter, to save costs, are fake beans, in terms of if you wanted to sell fake food. Yeah, because I couldn't explain that plastic, whatever it was, on those beans. And I even talked about it in past videos, okay? And then I did an experiment. I put some of those beans and I tried to sprout them, right? The majority sprouted, but they all didn't sprout. No, and they're organic. So what does that tell you? You got to be careful. So, I don't know. The only thing I can say is food was better back in 2011. More reason to keep it if you have it, especially when it's this kind of stuff. Yeah. And then as for the chickpeas, there's two different kinds here. And again, if I remember correctly, where I bought them from was that little Punjabi store that I used to like to go to. Right? And I remember buying two different types of chickpeas. In terms of, I don't know, like, these are really nice and clean, considering how old they are. They feel good. I don't know if you can see it because my finger's in the way, right? Right, like, you know what I mean? Like, they're nice. They're really nice. Now, raw chickpea is not poisonous because you eat them. You can sprout them and you can eat them, right? They're not like a bean. You can't sprout a bean and then eat the bean. You can't sprout a kidney bean and eat the bean because the kidney bean, the great northern white bean, those beans, they're all what is that called? Toxic until you cook them off for 10 minutes and boil off those toxicities. Lentils, you can sprout and eat them raw after sprouting, providing that they're not contaminated with, listeria and those kind of things through the harvesting and processing. When they harvest and they dry and how you buy food and it comes in with listeria or whatever it is, those types of foods that comes in from the manufacturer itself, right? And anyway, this is from 2011. It feels good. I mean, I can't really see the color. I mean, obviously it's hard. No. It took me a while to suck that to make it soft. So I'm not worried about it. But what we'll do is we will, again, have Andre help us put it into some trays on paper towels that are moist. And let's just see if they sprout. And I had two bags of that, so that's one there. All right. And then here's another one. Same bag. And I do remember being in the aisles, picking up these bags. Look how nice that is. Where am I? Those are nice. Really, really nice. So 2 bags of that. And then they had a chickpea, but it was kind of different. Like maybe a different brand or something. And that's why this one's different. And that's what makes me remember where I bought them from. Because these ones aren't as, they're different. They were dehydrated different or something. They're just different. They were different when I bought them. They feel different. They look different. And I remember when I bought them, they were different. Either or. We have these ones too. So each bag, Andre's going to take a little bit. And we're going to see what sprouts and what doesn't sprout. And just because it doesn't sprout doesn't mean that it's bad. Right? It just means maybe it's too old and it's lost its vitality, but it will still have nutrients in it, right? And in some cases, flavor. Like those lentils from 2011, they have more flavor than the one from 2025. I can tell you that right now. Oh yeah. All 3 of them. Well, 2 of them. There's 2 of them there. The little ones and the other ones. We'll do all 3 bags of the chickpeas. Right? Right now I'm just bagging up everything. ignoring my eye. Yeah. What is this? I don't know. Ignoring my eye hurts. I really tried yesterday to, this is lentils. I really tried yesterday to rest, but I woke up with my eye sore. Because I've been bending and lifting and carrying, and, you know, I did underneath the steps to try and get on a handle on this. And then, you know, I went into Tisha's room and got into that wall unit, and I was moving jars and bending and doing this and that. So these are lentils. And now, you just see me do what I did, and now everything's, whatever I was looking at, it's all white now. Can't see shit. Oh my God. So frustrating. You don't even know. I'm going to put 2011. Okay. Hopefully that got on there. Oh. I just want to get this box out of here. Okay, so what's this? Crying out loud. Okay, that's the lentils. Okay. Okay. Oh my Lord. Okay, these are chickpeas, 2 different kinds. More of one than the other, and I do remember buying 2 different kinds at that time. So I don't know why it was like that, but they were selling it. It was in a store, so you know, I wasn't buying anything online in those days. Whether they're organic or not, Andre will have to read the little labels that I tried to cut in after I cut it off the bag. It should be listed. I don't know. That part I don't remember. So currently, we got a big ass bag of chickpeas. Probably about I don't know how many pounds. Oh. I'm just using old recycled plastic bags right now. I can't find my other bags. I took them out of those vacuum seal bags. Right? Anyway, you can see that's a lot. That's probably about 20 pounds right there of chickpeas. Seriously. It's more than 10. I'll tell you that right now. They got a bag of onions, 10-pound bag of onions. I'm pretty sure that's what that is. What those onions were. And this is... I can barely hold it. So there you go. So I'd say about 20 pounds of that. For sure. This is a 10-pound bag of onions, approximately, I think. Which isn't very much. Like, that's easy. I can go like that, no problem. Alright. Where that other one, I can barely lift it. And then we've got Again, can't see. That's the lentils, including the one from December of 2025, so we'll take out those for now. Which, these ones I really like. And honestly, I really like those ones too, in terms of taste. Yeah, I do. And the reason I show you these things is so that you know, if you ever find yourself in a crisis and you got mouths to feed, or maybe you just might want to feed yourself, and because you've been conditioned to throw out food because somebody else told you to do it, so that you'll go off to their store and go buy more, and if not their store, then their friend's store, or whatever, or maybe they just want you to be hungry, you'll know better. You'll remember my video. Yeah. Look at that. Let's see. That's heavier than the onions. I can still lift it. So, I probably got, right now, just this little bit. I'm trying to think about, like, if I was to buy in the grocery store right now, how much it would approximately cost me. Right. Oh, I forgot those other ones in here. Let me put these ones in here. Approximately. Even if I went $5 a bag, that's 25 bucks. Based on 5 bags that I opened up from downstairs. And if they took it out of a bin and everything else disappeared from that bin, I lost money. So anyway, yeah. Oh, here, I'm going to throw these cantatelli beans in there. Andre, try and sprout them too. Which I would have bought in 2025 as well. So I'm just going to keep them. Yeah. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I got something else here, but I can't read it. Probably something I did in terms of dehydrating or something. I don't know what the hell that is. I think this is potato starch when I was doing potatoes. And I was dehydrating a lot of potatoes, and I came in with a lot of potato starch. I think that's potato starch, which would never go bad. Nope. So I'll put that in a jar, assuming that's what that is. But I'm going to need Andre to help me because I can't really see. So, now, if I don't do anything, you know people are going to use that against me, right? If I do something, probably still won't be enough. And I'm trying to convince myself that I'm not hurting myself. I won't know until I go to the doctor. Now, a couple of these little things fell on the floor. Some chickpeas. There's one lentil in there, but I don't know if it's the 2025 or the one from 2011. So maybe we'll get Andre to start start sprouting these ones first. Because I'm very curious to see if they'll sprout. Yeah, very curious. Either or. You're going to sprout those ones. Try to. Put these back in the box now that they're done for now. Yeah, it really hurts. It almost feels like when I first came out of the hospital. Just not leaking as much. I don't have an eye appointment with no doctor for anytime soon. Soon, but not soon. I don't know. I have to wait for a little while yet. A few more days. So I'm just going to try and tough it out. Now I really have to get up underneath those steps, because as I was pulling out this stuff, you know, because those mice had already started to chew into them, a whole bunch of shit fell on the floor. So, it's hard though, right? So I put this at, in today's price, I don't know. Depends. Depends how much of it is organic, right? But we'll just say between 25 and 30 bucks. Maybe $35. Maybe if it's organic, maybe 40 bucks. I don't know. Okay. And then I think that's potato starch, which is still good. I don't know what this is until I open it up. Whatever it is, it's very sealed good. Oh, I think they're jalapenos or something like that. For spice, you know? And I have potato flakes. I don't know if they're potato flakes that I dehydrated myself. Oh, here's some more. Another bean. Chickpea. Which doesn't matter whether I dehydrate. I probably dehydrated. I don't know where I got them from anyway. They're from the same time. I'm going to be putting that aspen sugar in it. As I'm doing this crap, already had a mouse underneath the stove with the cat trying to catch it. So I put some peanut butter with that fake sugar on a plate underneath it. We'll see. See if they eat it. In terms of using a paper bag, putting your food in it, you buy something in a bag, plastic bag. You want to put it away for long-term food storage. Put it in a brown paper bag, and then vacuum seal it, and put it someplace where it's not going to be moved around, and so that, you know, it gets punctured, right? And seriously, because they were all sealed. I just didn't have time to try and get them out of there because, again, Marina was down there, so she wasn't working at that time. So she was home every day. So it wasn't like I could go down there and start mucking around, right? Plus they had everything in the laundry room and stuff. But these mice, they've only been acting like crazy nutballs. Okay, I don't know what this is for. What is this for? Ah, here's these lentils. Mmm. Mmm. Okay. Sure, Judy. So I'm going to put these lentils in here with these chickpeas. And Andre can try and sprout these. He can get them set up tomorrow. Yeah, I'm really curious to see if these things sprout. Like, extremely curious. You don't even know. Put some myths to rest. Because they taste good. I wouldn't be surprised. Especially if they're organic. But yeah, in terms of a cheap way to seal your food for long term, this was pretty effective for what it's worth. My son is on some health kick. He's trying to avoid plastics, plastic containers, plastic, blah blah blah. Oh, it's you know, like the Jew. Oh, it's past its expiry date. It's in plastic. You know, you're just getting that microplastic and blah blah blah. Whatever. To get away from the plastic, just put it in a brown paper bag first. It worked really well. The paper bag also helps to prevent your vacuum seal bag from being punctured more easily. So it's twofold, and it helps to keep the light and the moisture out as well. But with the vacuum sealed bag, you are already keeping out moisture, providing that the bag is not compromised after you vacuum seal it. Right? Okay. So, I don't really have much more to say other than if I was running a warehouse, if I had a warehouse, do you honestly think I'd be living in this house? No. No. No way. No. This is food prep, and I have no regrets. I have no regrets. It's caused so much flack, so much heat, so much disrespect. But at the end of the day, sometimes people learn the hard way. Sometimes people never learn because, you know, whether you believe in God or not, you know, I think while you are alive, alive, and you're so-called on earth, I do believe lots of it is a test. And it's not a test from the human that you're standing in front of that's doing whatever the human is doing. I think it's a lot more higher than that. Yeah. But, yeah, I'm going to keep it right now anyway, for now. Okay, so I am going to see if Andre can learn how to import, convert, and then upload. Yeah. With this video. Now, in the beginning of this video, I'm pretty sure I didn't delete it, right? I was talking about, like, when I leave this house. I don't know when that will be. Hopefully I'll leave alive. That's all I got to say when it comes to leaving. It's going to be very, 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 very difficult to rent another house from a Punjabi, I would think. simply because, as far as I'm concerned, what my landlords have been doing and how they've been doing it, it has basically labeled me as a bad person, bad tenant, bad, 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 bad. Right? Doesn't want to pay $5,000 a month. Doesn't want to pay $4,500 a month. Even though by law, what they're trying to do is illegal. But they don't care about that in the great grand scheme of things when it comes to, I suppose, good business and making a triple, quadruple digit profit margin. All right. So just keep that in mind, right? As if I would ever feel safe again renting a new place after everything I've been through in this place and what I'm up against while I continue to live here. Because that food that you just seen me rebag is perfectly fine. But because people like to abuse me and insult me, yada yada yada, they're going to use anything and everything that they can find to humiliate me. And you know how it goes, right? When you're an abused person, if you're not the abuser, abusers justify what they do while the abused either learn to accept it and live with it and then eventually die from it, or just wither away from it, or they find a way to get away from it. Sometimes it can be fast, sometimes it takes years, and then after you're gone, you're traumatized. Okay. So with that, throw out my can of peaches from May of 24 because they're expired and everything else that you have there because you're not allowed to have it. However you want to say it, whether it's old and it's no good, even though you don't know what you're talking about, and you're supposed to be old and wise and you should know better, but I suppose when you have a silver spoon, in terms of 1,000 of them, tucked over here and tucked over there and tucked over here and tucked over there and under there and over that and over there, and right, you know what I'm saying? Of course you wouldn't be interested in quote-unquote old food, but definitely use it against somebody who is held under your thumb to control them, manipulate them, hurt them, threaten them, whatever it is. So needless to say, I'm second-guessing myself. I'm gaslighting myself in terms of I was so close to giving that to my neighbors just in light of that situation over there with a large number of people in direct homelessness, like are actually homeless and are just struggling to survive, however they're surviving. And I'm not trying to cast no judgments. Been there, done that, know all about it. But I'm not going to give it to them. If you had 100 people, there's not 100 over there, but if you had 100 people and 75% to 80% were grateful that they got it because they needed it and they were happy to have it, well, the other 25%, 20% were just straight up naysayers and dickheads and clearly, I suppose, didn't need it, even though they're hanging out with a bunch of poor people that are hungry. But as long as they can keep control of the main group by denying them extra food and keeping them hungry so that they can control them, Well, yeah, then why would you want them to have it? So, of course, you're going to bitch and complain and put a dark light on me. Oh, she's giving you old food. Like, what's the matter with that? Well, why couldn't she just, go off and buy some fresh food? And if she really cared about you, she just would have gave you, $100 to go buy food. Or she would have went off and bought it for you, and at least it'd be up to date. Blah, 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 blah. Kick the bitch to the side. Throw that food out. Yeah. And then because out of that 80%, where they're homeless and dependent and lost and frustrated and confused and their spirits are down or whatever, they're not going to want judgment casted on them. So they might, oh, you're right. Oh, how dare she? Oh, well, I'd rather just go hungry than fight against you, the bully in the group. Fight against you, the bully in the group. So, another 25, 30 people side with the 20% that are bullies and want to keep the rest really hungry. Because they're not coming with no solutions. I don't even want to get caught up in that politics, people. Not right now. I'll just eat the potatoes myself. I already got it figured out. I'm going to make myself some potato soup. Cream potato soup. So, I got to rest for a while. I've been up since 1 and it's 9 o'clock now. I've been up since about 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock this morning. And it's 9 o'clock now, so I've been going for about 9 hours, and my eye has been hurting ever since I woke up. Because I've been doing things when I technically shouldn't be. But, so I'm going to rest for a little while, and then I'm going to try and peel some of those potatoes, take off the roots, right, throw them into the compost, peel the potatoes. I'm going to boil the potatoes, and then I'm going to use that broth, potatoes and the broth and all of it, right? And I'm going to puree it. I'm going to puree the potatoes and make them really, 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 really soft. Like, nice, right? I'm going to puree them in the blender. And then I'm going to put them back in the pot with whatever potato juice I have. Go into my bedroom, or at least have Andre go in there. And, get a jar of chicken broth or beef broth or some kind of broth that I have in there. Put that in the pot. And the lentils that I just was working with tonight, the ones from 2011, I'm going to cook them up. And then I'm going to put them into the soup with maybe a little bit of onion or something. I got onions, so yeah, onions for sure. And I think I got a little bit of celery in the fridge, and I'll shred some carrots. So I'm going to make cream potato soup with shredded carrots, a little bit of celery and onion, and lentils. Yeah. And I'm going to eat it with the kids. It's going to be so good. And if it's so really, really good, I'll make it again and again and again. It would have been simpler just to give that food right now currently that I just next door, but I can't handle the criticism. It's not worth it. Not right now. No, and it's a real shame. So this is coming from people with money. I want to say that when I rented this house, my landlords were living on a house on 105, down there somewhere. And they owned this house, and they owned another house somewhere that way. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So three to four houses they owned. 3 for sure that I'm aware of. I think 4 when I first moved in. And then a few years later, they moved into a brand new monster home that they built They built it. They paid for it. This was like 3 or 4 years later. 3 or 4 years after I moved into this house. They finally moved out of the one that they were living in. And they went that way towards where there used to be farms. There's no more farms. They've all been wiped out. Monster house after monster house after monster house. All the farmland's gone. All the houses from block to block or block is gone. Like, you don't even know. Anyway, eventually one day I had to go to their new house for some reason or another. So when I got there, they had 2 pieces of property. They didn't buy just one. They bought 2. Yeah. And they're old, and they managed to do that. So in the meantime, they invite me in, whatever, and then Mr. Gill took me out and he showed me his chickens on the other property. Right? And that's when I first met his chickens. And he was telling me how they used to have a horse out there and blah, 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 but because of the construction, they had to take away the horse, and, the horse was taken away, and, and he was feeding the birds, and he had his chickens, and, okay, whatever. And then I get a phone call, because I had already had Mr. Lace, because, he was a bird that was let out in the community because he was a male. And the kids found him. We didn't know if it was, we just knew it was a bird that was running around out there in the middle of winter, and the kids brought it home. It turned out Mrs. Lace ended up being a Mr. Lace, and we had the rooster. So I had the rooster, and I already had Mr. Lace's coop, right? And, but then eventually, whatever land that they bought that was pretty much next to their house, where the chickens were, he called me up and he told me he had to get rid of them because, they were developing the property and they weren't allowed to have the chickens there anymore, blah, 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 or whatever. Can you take my 7 hens? Because he knew I had a place for them. So yeah, that's how the hens showed up. Look after my chickens for me. So he brought all his birds here. And that's when Mr. Lace got his flock. So that land, that's when in 2017 they were having drainage problems because it was muddy, right? And they were developing it, and what they did is they built themselves a little gazebo in it and gardens. So they bought 2 properties, one where they built themselves a brand new house. That would have been in 14, 15 and around that time and then by 2017, Mrs. Gill wanted me to plant a garden because she was having drainage problems. Even though I was having drainage problems, didn't matter. She wanted me to plant extra food, all this crap. I said yes, and then of course the city was called on to me to build that case, even though I'd already been working in the yard. Hold on a minute. Yeah, let's finish this video. I don't know what I was talking about. Talking about something. Creditors are starting to call now. I pay more than half of whatever I get for whatever reason between rent, gas, and hydro and cable right now. Just for those 4 things. Yeah. Because, all of a sudden, boom, have to cough up another whatever it is. Anyway, I guess I had what is that, hindsight or foresight? Foresight, to see ahead, right? About going bankrupt, because there's something was telling me, you better prepare for that, because you're going to get blindsided somewhere else. Hold on a minute. Hold on. So yeah, a whole new batch of gang stalkers stepping up to the plate. In comes the creditors. Yeah, I've had credit since 2000 and what was it? 2001, 2003, 2001, 2002, around 2002, 2003, and around that time, 2001. No, I think it started either or. It was in around that time. Yeah, as soon as the credit kicked in, I got illegally cut off of welfare in the middle of winter with 5 dependent children, under legislation that wasn't even legal in Canada because it came in from the States, and it hadn't even gone into effect. It was 9 months before it was supposed to go into effect. So they cut me off 9 months before the legislation was supposed to even go into effect. And then it ended up being illegal. And social services in those days, they took the government to court and they had it rescinded because it was illegal and it was destroying people's lives, literally. Yeah. So anyway, lived on my credit cards for over 6 years. Basically, as I worked on the nonprofit, mentioned it before in the past on other videos, and then just with the way the world, just the way the economy is situated and manipulated, and how poor people are manipulated to stay in poverty, and yeah. So I you know what? I looking back in the years, and it's like I probably already paid out $100,000 in interest just between the credit cards that I've had over the years. You know, some are still active. Some, you know, I'd get something and then I'd, like, you know how you get those loans for furniture, or when I bought my fridges or something, you know, you have a 2-year thing and you pay, you pay the interest, and then that contract closes, and then, you know, whatever. And it's not like a credit card, but it's credit, right? Like, I've had those over the years. That's how I bought all the mattresses for everybody in the house, and paid that off and closed that account, and you know, I did appliances at one point, and or whatever. So anyway, yeah, now that I'm going quote unquote bankrupt, it's probably in foresight, right? Something was telling me you're going to need that money for rent versus putting it on a credit card. Little did we know, right? And even as you're paying your rent, it's still not satisfied, right? And now you're afraid to breathe, seriously, or anything, but you're still paying. Regardless. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to keep those lentils and those chickpeas, and I'm going to see if they're going to sprout. That we'll start working on that little video. And I'll get Andre to put them in something and get them soaking and blah, blah, blah. And within a week, we should know whether they're going to sprout or not. And even if they don't sprout, doesn't mean they're still not edible, as long as there's no mold and they didn't get half eaten by pests, whether that's a bug or a moth or a mouse or whatever. And even then, if you were hungry, sitting up in some village in some desolated country under some caste system where you're expected to eat dirt, you know, you'd still pick through that dirt looking for a few chickpeas that you could rinse off underwater and feed that to yourself or your family if that's all you had to eat. So I'm grateful I have them even after all this time. And I think what I'm going to do, instead of making cream potato soup with lentils, I think I'm going to make cream potato soup for sure. And I'll still cook up the lentils. Whether I put them in that soup or not remains to be seen. Or maybe I'll make a little salad or something, because I know I have lettuce. I'll make a little salad with shredded carrots or something. And then after they're cooked, the lentils, right? And then I'll just sprinkle them into the salad and maybe eat them that way. Try and get Andre to eat them. I'm just trying to think, you know, because, you know, he wolfing down everything. He's raiding my bedroom. He's constantly going in there, grabbing this and grabbing that and just wolfing it down. He's at that age now, right? So hopefully he'll wolf down on some lentils and chickpeas. It all depends on how you present it to him, all right? Because he can get picky, you know, because he goes for his favorite foods, right? So he's been wiping me out. I notice now he's getting into the egg noodles. Yeah. He likes pasta. He's been eating a lot of pasta, and he ate up all the tacos with all the salsa sauce, and, you know, of course there's hamburger and just this, that, and now he's getting into the egg noodles. I noticed he pulled a package of egg noodle out. But once we get our kitchen going, I'm gonna show him how to make just homemade macaroni with egg and flour, and he likes that, but you have to make it, right? Anyway, so yeah, like, I don't know, people. Why would I give something away where people can criticize me for it when I can actually use it myself and be grateful and happy that I have it? What I have there can feed us, supplement meals for a couple, 2, 3, 4 months, depending on what I'm doing. Right? When it comes to chickpeas, lentils, and that kind of crap. So, because I don't want to be put down for thinking about somebody else being hungry and then offering them something where I'm being told it's not good enough, even though they're going to their local homeless shelter for breakfast. Because that's basically what it would boil down to for some people. Well, I don't want to eat those from 2011. But I'll go to the homeless shelter and eat what they feed me there, because I don't mind being homeless in Canada, even though I'm just a refugee that's never going to go anywhere in life. Yeah, okay. Okay, I'm going to end it on this video, since I spilled the beans on one of my last 1 or 2 videos about making $100,000 when I was 15 years old. Okay? Trying to start my own quote-unquote business, be independent. Right? Because I sure in the hell wasn't living at home. So anyway, this is what I Googled. The value of $100,000 in 1977, because it would have been 1977 when I was 15 years old. Right? What is 100K in 1977 money adjusted for inflation? Convert 100,000 from 1977 dollars to 2026 dollars. It comes out to $556,794. I didn't rob nobody. I didn't commit no crimes in terms of extortion. I didn't threaten nobody to give me money. I actually worked for it at 15. And what did I get? I got a mugshot with a coat that my mother gave me, because in Alberta the weather goes below 40 below, if you've ever been out that way in the wintertime. And she didn't want me to freeze to death out there, being that I was a homeless youth fending for myself. And I got picked up by the cops, and they took me to the police station and they took a mugshot. And I asked them why they were doing that. And you know what they told me at 15 years old? In case I end up dead, they had a way to identify me. And then they put me back in their car and they drove me back to the street and they let me out and they left me there. So for all this shit that goes on with these social workers and this, that, and everything else, like, I take all that seriously, people, with a grain of salt. Okay? Because I know the real deal when it comes to human trafficking and what it means on the spectrum of human trafficking, including body parts. Okay? I wonder if my landlady can say that. No, of course not. She can't say that. She can't say that she made $500,000 when she was 15 years old without committing any crimes. Because any crime that was committed was actually committed against me. But I didn't really have too many choices in those days. And I tried to look after myself, but needless to say, I got robbed. What's new, pussycat?